What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioS 3 Raw TV. Excuse me. Now, I always told you guys I would give it to you raw. And I put as much as I can out there. I never really think about a lot of things that I say that, I don't hold anything back. But I get a lot of questions, email-wise, Facebook-wise, stuff like that, asking me about money. We've talked about this before, money. How do you successfully become a bodybuilder because it's so expensive? I don't have the money, I don't have this, I don't have that. I hear a lot of these complaints about I don't have the money for this, don't waste your money on supplements, money, money, money. I hear a lot of stuff about money, and a lot of these people are just wasting fuck tons of money. And then they say they don't have any money, or I can't afford this, I can't afford that. Now, let me go back to my earlier days. I turned 18, I got a credit card. This is, I guess, a little story time mixed into this story too. I got a credit card, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. The first thing I did with that credit card, the first thing, my aunt worked at a credit union. I got the credit card from the credit union at 18 years old. Went to the mall when I got the credit card, to the mall, Swansea Mall, Massachusetts, and bought a pair of Oakleys for like $110. So I come home with these Oakleys, and my parents were like, how much were those? I'm like, $110. They were like, what? Like, back then, that was fucking huge amount of money for sunglasses. And like, no fucking 18-year-old kid was spending $100-something on sunglasses. And I was like, what? Where did you get the money for that? I said, you put it on my credit card. I had like a $250 limit. And I thought this was the coolest thing. I said, I can get nice things and just pay them off. So I started paying like, the minimum on it per month, whatever. And that was my train of thought. You buy them, pay the minimum on it. I didn't realize at that young age, they tack on these percents that wind up adding up, and you wind up paying $200 for these things when it's not. So you wind up wasting money. Now, fast forward, my credit was good. I kept up with it. Fast forward a little bit, you're getting bigger limits. You're getting store cards. Things like this are starting to happen. So as I got a little bit older, let's say out of my teens and my early 20s, very early 20s, I had all kinds of store cards, charge cards, all kinds of bullshit. And I was using them. Of course, we're going to go to a club. Now, if you're going to go to a club, we buy new outfits every week to go to a club. Fucking stupid, right? So you go buy like the latest thing that came out at the mall, spend maybe $150, couple $100, for that week. Now you go out to the club itself. You pay $35 to $40 a piece for me and my girlfriend each. So that's $80 before you even walk through the door. Waters are $5. We're at the club for like 8 hours because it's an after-hours club. So you're looking at like maybe another $70, $80 worth of water. That's for one weekend, for one night. Okay, now, as things progressed along, I would use the credit card for that. Hey, I don't have the cash for it. And I was working one, maybe two jobs at the time, depending on what was going on at the time. I would use the credit card for it. Boom, I'll pay it off later. Boom, I'll pay it off later. Oh, you know what? There's no more credit on this one. I'll put it on this credit card. Boom. Oh, this one I owe a payment on. I'll use this credit card to pay this one off. Oh, I got a store card. Nordstrom. Great. Well, Nordstrom's expensive as fuck when you're 20 years old and don't have a lot of money. So you go in there, you're buying clothes. That thing racks up really quick. And the fact that I was keeping up with these things at the minimum payments meant I had good credit. So I kept getting credit cards, getting credit cards. The next thing you know, I was fucking in debt. It was pretty bad. And I don't even remember exactly what the number was, but it wasn't good. And at the whole time, I'm trying to do the bodybuilding thing. So a lot of my money was going to, partying and this and that, but I wasn't really focusing 100% on the bodybuilding thing. So I was doing okay. I wasn't really making great gains. I kind of staggered out and lost my way a little bit with, focusing on that, but I was still doing it. Now, fast forward to when it all came crashing down, I couldn't afford to live that lifestyle anymore. I was addicted to drugs. I had run out of money. My bills were backing up. Everything just fucking crashed down around me. And at that point, I had to make a decision whether I was going to continue to do that, which how the fuck do you continue to do it? You can't. You have to get out of that. Or pull myself out of this shit and start to pay these things off slowly and stop buying things, work a couple of jobs, maybe 3 jobs if I had to get myself out of it. Now, eventually, over time, that happened. Now, between the ages of, like, I'd say 27 to 28, about 20, between 28 to 36. How old am I now? 38, maybe 39. 28 to 36, so about 8 years. I didn't have a single credit card. Not one fucking credit card. Not for emergencies, nothing. I didn't have a single credit card. I pulled myself out of the debt, and literally, if I didn't have the cash to spare to buy something, I didn't buy it. So it was kind of touch and go. There were times that, I really would want to buy something. And there were times I made bad decisions and I bought something when I really shouldn't have. It would wind up being shorter money. I never fully ran out of money, but it was to the point where, you didn't have much in your bank account. You made a stupid decision. You realize you're like, fuck, I made a stupid decision. And you're like, fuck, if I had credit cards, I could make even stupider decisions. And it scared me to get credit cards to go back into that situation. Now, fast forward now, I have a couple credit cards. I'm not in any debt. I have zero debt whatsoever. The only thing that I actually owe on is my car. And the car, I purposely said, you know what, this is what I can afford. I'm going to go ahead and buy this type of car. I want, this is what I've always wanted. I can afford it, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. If I buy something now, I don't use that credit card. I have not used the credit card one time, I think maybe I've used it. We were in Mexico and I used it, and I had, instead of my bank card, I had my credit card in case it gets jacked. I used it down there. I don't use the credit card. It is specifically for emergencies if I needed it. It's there. I have credit lines at like furniture stores and shit or whatever if I wanted to use them, but I don't use them. I stopped twice now. I've learned my lesson, and it was kind of like as I pulled those credit cards out for a long period of time, I learned that the tendencies are still there. It's like being a drug addict. Just because you stop doing the drug doesn't mean the tendencies are not still there. So I forced myself to stay away long enough from using credit cards, even having a credit card, to realize it was still there. So when you finally do get a credit card, you're fully aware of the fact that those tendencies are still there. It didn't just go away because you're out of debt. I've seen people go into debt, get out of debt, go right back into debt. I've seen people file bankruptcy multiple times. And it sucks because they never break that cycle. They don't understand how. And nobody taught me how to do it. I kind of figured it out on my own because I didn't want to live that lifestyle. It was kind of like a rock bottom. So when I hear people say stuff like, I can't afford this, I can't afford to be a bodybuilder, I can't afford to eat clean, that's the biggest bunch of bullshit ever. Because I guarantee you, or like, I don't have the time, so therefore I have to eat out, and therefore I don't really have the money because I have to eat out. And all those things, you have to figure it out for yourself. You have to do some kind of real soul searching to figure out what the fuck you want to do. Because money-wise, if you're eating out 4 or 5 times a week, well then you could be saving a shit ton of money at home. And if you're like, well, no, I don't have the time, sitting in a fucking drive-thru or sitting at a restaurant or waiting to get your fucking food, that block of time, if you added up those fucking 10, 15 minutes or whatever the fuck it is, you now have enough time to cook your food throughout the rest of the week. Like, it's just not, it's pieces of a puzzle I think people have a hard time putting together. But, you really have to sit back and say, some people have kids, house payments. Like, I don't have those things. You know what I mean? I don't have the house payments. We don't own a house. We don't have those things that you have kids. Things are always popping up left and right. You got 3 kids. It's even worse than when you have 1 kid. Like, we don't have those things, and that makes it a little bit easier for me to kind of live the lifestyle that I do now. Now, if I did have those financial responsibilities, things might be different. Okay, but that's not a fact. So, I guess what it basically boils down to, if you want to do it, you'll get it done. But you should also understand that it's all relative. If you can't afford it because you have 3 kids, a wife, a house, and you want to protect them, then no, you can't afford it. You're doing your best. But if you can't afford it because you're fucking around and going to the bar with your friends 2 nights a week, you're taking your girlfriend out to eat fucking 2 nights a week, you're going to the club on the weekend and spending a bunch of money, and you're fucking buying ecstasy tablets, $25 a pop, and you're fucking taking those, and you're saying, I don't have enough money to be a bodybuilder, then you're just full of shit. So take stock of what's going on with your life, take stock of what you want, and, financial security is, it's not something that comes easy. I think that's the big part. Again, like bodybuilding, it doesn't come easy. You have to work at it. Unless you're already smart enough when you were younger, you were taught to do things a certain way, and it all falls into place, which that's not the way it happened for me. You have to go through some trials and tribulations, ups and downs before you figure it out. But, learn from those things. If I hadn't learned from being fucking broke and losing all that fucking money and stuff, I would have never known what to do now. So fast forward, everything kind of worked out now, but I learned a lot about life and how to do those things and balance those things in life. They really worked out for the long run. BiohazardTraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. www.biohazardtraining.com is a blog. I'm BioHazard3, and I approve this message, and we're out.